Hello, I am Tina Jain Kaushal and you are watching Money9, India's first multilingual person finance website from TV9 network. Today we are going to talk about digital rupee, but the case is not as simple as we think. To discuss its risks and challenges, we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Pawan Duggal, who is a cyber law expert. Welcome, Mr. Duggal.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be
Mr.
with you on
Duggal,
your show.
Mr. Duggal, central banks across the world are talking about digital currencies. So, can you tell us what exactly is central bank digital currency or CBDC? Is it just the electronic transfer of money, or is it something bigger where the money is re-engineered and work just like the cryptocurrency work on blockchain technology?
The fact remains is that across the world, one is finding that different kind of banks and government are beginning to come up with the idea that you now need to go ahead and use the blockchain ecosystem, because this blockchain ecosystem becomes important for the purposes of determining how a nation can actually go ahead and use the blockchain economy to the best extent possible. It's in this context that one finds that invariably there is far more focus on new kinds of cryptocurrencies, which are now going to be officially, shall I say, circulated or issued by the central bank. So typically, a cryptocurrency is a decentralized currency. It's a currency which really does not require any centralized control. But because blockchain is now becoming so predominant and relevant, we are finding that more and more countries and central banks are beginning to start experimenting with the blockchain as a technology. And that's why this concept of a central bank digital currency has emerged. It's not the same as your normal currency. It's far, far beyond. In fact, you already are now seeing the NEFT or the various other digital transmission modes. But that's not equivalent to a digital currency. A digital currency would purely be in the ecosystem. It will purely bring in far more value, and it will help far more seamless integration of digital payment ecosystem in the entire cyberspace related paradigm. So to that extent, I distinctly believe that it's a step forward. A lot of countries are still toying with the idea of how to do it, what to do it, what are the possible pitfalls that they have to be careful about, what are the distinctive advantages. And the beauty is that India is just about the cutting edge of technology. We are just as mature or as not so mature as any other nation which is working in this regard, but clearly can learn from the experiences of a lot of other countries when it's actually now trying to build up a central digital currency that's increasingly based on the blockchain system.
Mr. Duggal, you talked about the pitfalls around the digital currency. So, can you tell us what are the risks and challenges involved around cryptocurrencies or the central bank digital currency?
Well, there are n number of pitfalls or legal risks that lies. The first and foremost is, how do we actually go ahead and legally recognize a digital currency? We all have fiat or paper-based currencies in the actual world, and those currencies have been granted legal tender, legal sanction, and validity by virtue of various actual world legislations. But now, for the first time, coming up with a digital currency. A digital currency would purely be in the electronic mode, and therefore it will require separate enabling legal framework to support the same. Now, when I look at in the Indian context, I find that the Indian Information Technology Act 2000 is completely inadequate to deal with the issues pertaining to digital currency. This is despite the fact that the Indian cyber law is India's mother legislation pertaining to anything in the digital or mobile ecosystem. So the moment you're using computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, communication devices, as also data and information in the electronic form, you are going to be governed by the IT Act. But the problem is that the IT Act itself does not give a legal sanction to digital currency. Hence, it will require more enabling legal support, and that will be the first big challenge that will be before any government. Another big challenge in the context of digital currency will relate to cyber security of the said currency. Now, once it's a digital currency that's going to be introduced or backed up by a central bank, people are going to take it for granted that it will be secure. Now, but security is easier said than done. There are a lot of slips between the cup and the lip, and I see that there are n number of potential, probable uh, risks and challenges that await any nation as they go and roll out a digital currency, because hackers, cyber criminals would be using all their power and their might so as to go ahead and hack or unauthorizedly breach, misuse, or unauthorizedly use the said digital currency. Now, today we have already seen the beginning of the golden age of cybercrime. Now, golden age has actually started with the coming of COVID-19, and now with digital currencies coming in, a new vector of cyber criminal activities and cyber is going to get opened up from the perspective of cyber hackers and also users. So one of the primary risks and issues that must be considered by any government as it goes forward in the direction of coming up with a central bank enabled digital currency is to take appropriate steps to protect and preserve the cyber security of not the digital currency, but also the supporting digital ecosystem. So, at the end of the day, people's security cannot be compromised. In addition, we're also likely to see other issues because a digital currency issued by a digital or a central bank of a country would only have validity within the territorial boundaries of that country. How will you make your digital currency valid outside your territorial boundaries? What will be the sanction or the definitive behind the digital currency for it to be legally acceptable and also to be accepted by the business and the trading community across the world? Further, there's going to be big issues pertaining to capacity building because people would still not be clear how to go ahead and use the digital currency. If the digital currency is specifically based blockchain ecosystem, then it becomes even more essential that the blockchain related legal policy and regulatory issues must be granted legal validity and sanction. As of now, India does not have any blockchain related delegated law, though the government is now coming up with a proposed cryptocurrency, which also is seeking to ban private cryptocurrencies. But at the time when we talk, there is no specific text of the bill that's currently available in the public domain. So it will be hard to say how India would want to move forward in this direction. But I can tell you it's a great idea, except that there will be a lot of blocks, a lot of potential challenges, issues that this Indian digital currency is likely to face as it moves forward.
So you have spoken about the challenges that are there in India, but when we look at the broader picture, can you give us how is the scene outside India? So, like country like Ethiopia, who is known for its e-governance, how are US, China, and other countries are prepared for this central digital currency?
Well, different countries are purely going ahead and trying to do their own approaches on how they can go ahead and use the digital currency. But the beauty is almost every nation is at a similar level of preparation or similar level of evolution. When I look at the model on blockchain, I find that clearly when it's coming to Estonia or when it's coming specifically to uh, Belarus or even Malta or Switzerland, I find that these countries have come up with dedicated legal frameworks to promote blockchain ecosystem and blockchain related payments. When I look at Malta specifically, I find that they have come up with three distinct national laws on blockchains, which could potentially be a starting point for a country like India. We need to learn from their experiences. We do not need to reinvent, and we need to specifically put a massive focus on cybersecurity because across, I'm finding that different countries are increasingly wanting to go ahead and focus on the cybersecurity of the digital currency in such a manner so that people's confidence and their intrinsic faith in the ability of the digital currency does not get. So India needs to do a lot of learning. We need to quickly see what other countries are doing and then adopt a customized approach, which is going to be peculiar as per to the prevailing circumstances and the existing ground realities in India. At the end of the day, we will all have to be mindful of the fact that we will have to do a lot of custom experimentation, and we will have to think on our feet as we go forward, because cyber criminals are waiting on the wings to go ahead and target these digital currencies. Further, with the advent of darknet and the dark economy and the dark net, I expect more and more cyber attacks to be originating from the darknet, which are going to be specifically targeting this digital currency ecosystem. So, a lot of work will have to be done. So, let's not be daunted by the challenge. Let's learn from what other countries are doing, and then let's go ahead and come up with our own approach on how India as a nation wants to go ahead and deal with digital currencies.
Mr. Duggal, you spoke about the cyber security that digital currency can have. So, do you think India is ready for digital currency, or should it wait for some time to have clearer laws?
Well, I think it's a chicken and egg situation. You cannot always say that let me wait for laws and then only I will come up with technology. On the other hand, technology is invariably 10 steps ahead of law enforcement agencies and also legal frameworks. So it's not a good idea to wait for law, but it's a good idea to do your legal homework. You are work in terms of developing a digital national currency, great idea. Except side by side, you will have to come up with enabling legal frameworks so as to grant legality to this particular format, and also for the purposes of granting appropriate legal action for the use of such digital currency in the context of the digital or the cyber ecosystem at large. So I think both these issues will have to go hand by hand. And see, in India, RBI is working on the details pertaining to the digital currency. Further, the government is already proposing to come up side by side with a cryptocurrency bill and a digital currencies bill. Let's wait and watch to see how specifically issues are going to be addressed in that. But invariably, things will have to go hand in hand. Slightly, law will be behind technology, but that doesn't matter. But till such time, there are adequate legal frameworks which provide effective remedy to affected persons who will find themselves affected by misuse digital currencies. Those issues must be appropriately well put in place at the time when a nation is starting with its digital currency paradigm.
Mr. Dugal, one last question before we let you go. One of the focus of digital currencies is to include the unbanked population of the country, and you have spoken about the risk of cyber frauds. So we are reaching out to the population where the awareness is very low. So do you think it can be a bigger problem once the digital currency rolls out?
Once the digital currency actually rolls out, it's going to be a far bigger problem, because in India, let's learn from the experience of Jamtara. Jamtara is a village in the eastern part of India which became famous because the entire village got dedicated to cybercrime as an economic activity. Initially, we thought that only going to be one, but the coming of COVID-19 has told us that there are a number of Jamtaras that are actually mushrooming across the world, specifically in India. And we're also beginning to see how there has become a move towards making cybercrime as a cottage industry in India. So in a scenario like this, please understand this digital currency is going to be lapped up by cyber criminals, potentially attacked, tried to be breached in terms of identifying its vulnerabilities, and they will come up with new innovative approaches on how to misuse the digital currency, go ahead and defraud people, more so as it's now coming even during COVID-19 time, where we have last seen how there is massive fear and panic in the hearts of people, and the cyber criminals are going ahead and trying to weaponize this fear and panic. So somewhere down the line, we will have to be mindful of this innovative that will be waiting to greet the digital currency as and when it's coming up. Hence, appropriate preparation must be done now in terms of making sure that the adequate cyber security precautions and protections are in place, adequate legal frameworks are in place, which not only grant legality to the said national digital currency, but more significantly, they also provide effective remedies for affected persons once they find that they have become victims of misuse or abuse of their such digital currency. That being so, appropriate offences will have to be defined, appropriate remedies, including seeking damages by way of compensation, will have to be provided. But the bigger issues pertaining to attribution and internet jurisdiction will have to be appropriately addressed. Because digital national currency can be misused by any person sitting anywhere in the world using the internet, attributing the misuse of the said digital currency to a particular person is going to be of a massive challenge. Also, if the person is located outside territorial boundaries of India, then it will be difficult to go ahead and prosecute the said person for misuse or abuse of the national digital currency. So we have n number of problems waiting for us. But just because there are problems doesn't mean that we are not going to move forward. Let's do our due diligence. Let's take our best step forward, because right now, a crying need of today's times is the need for a national digital currency. And if that digital currency is based on the blockchain ecosystem, thereby taking advantages of the blockchain technology, then to a large extent, India can leapfrog onto the next level of financial advancement and also financial inclusion. But how we do it is something that's going to be most significant, and all eyes will be on the government and on the regulator, being the RBI, as to how they will come up with appropriate mechanisms to not just go ahead, prop up, develop, but also disseminate more information about the said national digital currency and make it safe from potential cyber attacks and from potential cyber criminal activities. So great opportunity in the history of India and a fantastic fundament for further development. And I think the entire world is looking with keen breath as to how India, the largest democracy in the world, is going to go ahead and launch its national digital currency.
Thank you, Mr. Duggal, for giving us time today. As you said, virtual currency is the future, not for India, but for the world. And we need to have cyber security, proper regulations are there before we roll it out. Thank you for being on Money9 today.